Hello and welcome. Today we will be learning how to make origami bracelets or necklaces. Origami is the Japanese art of folding paper. By folding paper, we can make a two-dimensional surface. Paper is two-dimensional because it has length and width into a three-dimensional object where you have the length, width, and also the height. It's super fun. It only requires a few materials to do. The materials you will need are different colored construction paper or white paper if that's all you have, markers or crayons to decorate your bracelet afterwards, a ruler, a pencil, and scissors. So the first thing we need to do is measure and cut up strips of paper to fold and connect into our bracelet. We will use a ruler and pencil to mark half-inch wide strips on the shorter end of the paper. You can do this by making half-inch marks on the long side of the paper. So I'm going to turn the paper so the long side is facing me. Add the ruler here. And then I'm going to mark every half-inch on the ruler. I'm going to make a mark on the long side, like so. Then I'm going to flip it over, line it up against the edge of paper against the ruler again, and then mark half an inch on this side. So every half inch I'm going to make a little mark, and then I'm going to turn the paper this way, and I should have marks on this side as well as this side. I'm going to use the ruler to connect both points together. So I'm going to position the ruler here, connect both the marks, and I'll have one stripe. I'm going to keep going and connect all of the half-inch marks so that I get stripes on a paper, and these are going to be our strips. So once you have some strips marked out with your pencil, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut along the lines that I just drew. So once you cut them out, you should have long strips about 8 to 9 inches long. We're going to fold the strips in half, crease it at the halfway point, and we're going to cut them right at the halfway point so that they end up being 4 to 5 inches long. So I'm going to do that for all of these strips. So I want to let you know that you can also make a wider bracelet. So for here, I'm measuring out half an inch, but you could cut strips up to 1 inch wide, like this, slightly bigger, and something like this. But if you're going to cut strips up to 1 inch wide, then you don't need to cut them in half. I would leave the strips 8 to 9 inches long, instead of cutting them in half to account for the wider strips. But since I'm going to make a bracelet here that's with half-inch wide strips, I'm going to continue cutting them in half so that they are 4 to 5 inches long. step is to take each individual strip and fold it to create a V with 2 loops, like that. So we'll start by taking a strip, folding it in half, and I'm going to crease it at the halfway point. Then we'll open it back up, take the right side of the strip, right end here, and then bring it to the middle crease that we had just folded. Fold it here. We're going to crease this fold, and then we're going to do the same thing on the left side. So we're going to bring the ends together in the middle, and then crease both ends. With both ends folded in, we're going to fold the strip in half again, and now we have our V with 2 loops. So in order to make a bracelet, we're going to need to make about 18 to 20 of these V's. If you want to make a longer chain to make a crown or a necklace, you can use more of these V's to make it as long as you want. So I'm going to fold these other pieces. Once again, we'll fold it in half, crease, bring the right end to the middle, crease, left end as well, fold it in half for another V. I'll do a couple more and then we'll move on. So once you have enough V's, we can start linking them together in order to create a chain. So I have some other V's that I've already made in a different color that we can link together. So to start, we're going to take one V and hold it in one hand, and then another V with the other hand, and they can either be the same color or different colors, totally up to your design. The first V I'm going to hold in my left hand because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to take the second V, and both of these folds here, I'm going to insert them through the loops of the other V, like so. And then the next step, you should have something that looks like this. The next step would be to flip it and keep going. So we're going to keep doing that same thing. I'm going to pick up another V. I'm going to alternate the color. So I'm going to do red, yellow, and then another red. And if you have trouble inserting these ends through the loops, you can take your pencil and just stick your pencil through the loops first to kind of widen them. It'll make it a lot easier to insert this through. So now I've widened the loops there. I'm going to take the second V, and with the folded ends, I'm going to insert them through and push all the way through until it doesn't go any further. And then we're going to flip again and keep going. So we're going to keep doing this until the chain is as long as you want. It does like a really cool zigzag. Flip it again. If you find you really like this process and you have access to yarn or rope, you should try crocheting or macrame. Crocheting has you use a hook to interlock loops of yarn together, and macrame is a technique of knotting to create different shapes and patterns. So it's important to note that the order you link the different colored paper defines the color pattern of your bracelet or necklace. So for this one, I'm alternating the strips, the color strips, and I'll end up looking like this when I'm finished, where one color is on the top and one is on the bottom. But you can create different patterns. So for this one, I did 2 of the same color in a row, and it kind of creates diagonal stripes instead. You can also use more than 2 colors and create whatever pattern you like. So I'm going to do a couple more of these and then I'll show you how to finish it. So once your chain is as long as you want and you're ready to connect and finish the bracelet, I have one that's ready to be finished right here. Before you do that, we have to keep in mind whatever color pattern you decide. So for this bracelet, I'm doing 2 of the same colors in a row before changing colors. So since I finished with just 2 pinks in a row, I'm going to do 1 more orange strip, and then that orange strip is going to connect over here to create the same color pattern all the way around. So you have to keep that in mind. In order to add the last strip and connect the bracelet, I'm going to take the last V. So this is the last V shape that I have. I'm going to open it up, and these crease loops right here, we're going to fold these loops the opposite way like this, so that it looks like an M instead of a V. So I'll do that one more time. This is what our V with loops looks like. For the last link in the bracelet, before I finish, I'm going to open it up, fold these creases the other way so that it looks like an M instead. And now I'm going to insert both of these ends through the last 2 loops here. Push it all the way through. You can pull it at this point until it doesn't go anymore. And now we're ready to connect this end to the beginning of the bracelet. So we have 1 loop left here that we're going to need to insert both of these ends through. So this is where I'm really going to use my pencil to open up this middle loop here, like that. I'm going to take both ends together and insert them through the final loop, and then we're going to pull on it until it can't go any further. And now the bracelet is connected, but we have these 2 little flaps still. So what do we do with this? I'm going to take this flap, I'm going to take one of them, fold it over, and then this space in between the colors, I'm going to tuck this end underneath this color here. And we're going to do the same thing on the inside of the bracelet. So again, I'm going to fold this flap down and tuck it into the bracelet like so. So now here's your finished bracelet. So we can also use markers or crayons or paint or whatever you want to draw on the bracelet. You can add decoration, make it look as fun as possible, and then give it to a friend or wear it. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson today, and we'll see you next time.